I think I got set up okay. You think? Okay, thanks.
Works in Orange.
Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth!
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed Black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells, and how exciting to be here today. I mean, this day, what is today, March 24th? 2019. Is that right, Jeff? March 24th, 2019. This day will go down in infamy. Is that what they say? Is that famous quote? It will go down in infamy. Why? Because the American people have learned what? Well, actually, Trump supporters have always known. We've always known that the whole Russia collusion, Mueller investigation, dossier was fake, that the whole thing was on shaky ground, the whole thing was fraudulent, the whole thing was a con game on the American people, and the media was in on it. The media was in, they were in cahoots with this whole false narrative that was on sand. That was, I mean, if you did your research, you knew, right? And I think Trump supporters do their research. That's why they're Trump supporters. They've been doing their research a long time. That's why they don't support the Democrats. When you dig deep and look at the research and look at the data, you can't support the Democrats. And you know the media is lying. And it's so funny because this morning, or was it yesterday? I think this morning I was listening to the Washington Journal, and they were talking about, a few people called in and talked about the fact that the Washington Journal is biased. You know, most of the callers are anti-Trump. They're Trump haters. Most of their guests, you know, the large, it's not a balance. The large percentage of their guests are establishment folks. That means if you're an establishment folk, that means you're pro-media, anti-Trump. Because we now know that the media has lied to the American people for 2.5 years. Well, 22 months, right? Initially, I was going to talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center. There's a piece in the New Yorker called "The Reckoning of Morris Dees and the Southern Poverty Law Center." There's so much to talk about. I mean, I think the American people are now, excuse me, the American people are now going to be sort of inundated with so much stuff. Like, we're going to be like, yeah, we knew. It's like, yeah, yeah, sure, right. I don't know if Trump haters will ever come to terms with the fact that they've been lied to for 22 months. And that the media, you can't, that the media is like fake news. And this has been a witch hunt, a complete witch hunt, right? Not yet. But I want to play a little piece from an excerpt from Mark Levin. But before I get into that excerpt, I mean, I just want to say that the Mueller report concluded what? It concluded that there was no Russian collusion, right? We knew, and it concluded that there was, you know, the Mueller report was, well, the summary that we got from Barr, a 4-page summary that we got from Barr, informed us that the Mueller report was divided into 2 parts, 2 prongs. No Russian collusion and no obstruction of justice. But but Mueller put the obstruction of justice in sort of like a shady way, in the sense that he said, well, we can't exonerate Trump about there being we don't find them guilty of obstructing justice, but we also don't exonerate him. So that was kind of shady. And yet we leave it up to Barr to determine whether or not Trump obstructed justice. Well, the thing of it is this: if there's no collusion, what would Trump obstruct? You know, what would he be obstructing? Because with obstruction of justice, you must have what? Criminal intent. So if Trump knew that he didn't, and you know, it's very clear that the Mueller report made it very clear, definitively. It's not a gray area like the obstruction of justice, or where he sort of like didn't say definitively, or he sort of hedged his bet on that. But with the collusion, they said Trump definitively did not collude with Russia, nor did his associates, nor did the Trump campaign. Anyone affiliated or associated with Trump did not only did they not collude with Russia, but when the Russians came to them to sort of like do some shenanigans, so to speak, the Trump campaign declined. They showed no interest. So not only did Trump and the Trump campaign and his associate not collude with Russia, but they affirmatively decided not to even get involved in anything like that, right? Yeah, we spent, let me see, I wrote it down somewhere. How much, let's see. It was, let's see. Can I see this? I got to put my glasses because I can't see. Oh, I can't see. 19 lawyers were assisted by a team of approximately 40 FBI agents, intelligence analysts, forensic accountants, and other professionals. The special counsel issued more than 2,800 subpoenas, executed nearly 500 search warrants, obtained more than 230 orders for communication records, issued almost 50 orders authorizing use of PIN registers. PIN registers are eavesdropping, and made 13 requests to foreign governments for evidence and interviewed approximately 500 witnesses. Did you hear that, folks? Okay, I mean, would you think that's sufficient to figure something out? All of those resources, all of this time, all of this money, all these people involved, all of these tentacles out there searching for evidence. And they come back with today, or, was delivered to Barr yesterday, Friday late afternoon. That should have clued us in. There was nothing there. They've been hitting that. We've been getting hints. There's nothing there from the pundits from conservative pundits. There's nothing there. So we have all these resources to find out there's nothing. There's nothing there. And yet what? Democrats still, they want to subpoena Barr and maybe even subpoena Mueller. And yet, congressional Democrats are not going to have the resources. They're not going to have the time or the resources or the, the vast amount of people to investigate. At the Mueller report was vast. And they found no obstruction. They found no collusion definitively. And, when it comes to obstruction of justice, you must have criminal intent. And this is why they say, Barr has to decide, make that determination. And I think that was kind of tricky or shady of Mueller to sort of punt to Barr on that, because that's giving the Democrats leverage to still drag this out. I think, this is the thing that I feel. If Mueller spent all that time and money on this report, he should have been definitive. He should have shut the door. He should have made it definitive. This is the deal. There was no collusion. He was definitive on that. But on the obstruction of justice, he said, he's not guilty of it, but I can't exonerate him. That was sufficient. That's sufficient to get the Democrats to go on their fishing hunt or their fishing journey, trying to find something. And as they said, they keep moving the goalpost. Now we're involved. Now we're concerned with Trump's taxes. In other words, this is the thing. And Democrats, if you don't do it, if they don't win, if they don't have the power and the control, if you don't do it their way, they're not satisfied. And this is why I asked repeatedly, why do Democrats have any legitimacy, any credibility whatsoever when they have destroyed Black America? Why do they have any legitimacy? And I don't know why none of these pundits on TV don't ask them that. How do you have any credibility whatsoever when you never discuss the fact that you've destroyed Black America? And, and why hasn't there been a study to investigate how Black America has fared? Why is there no commission? Why is there no numbers? Why is there no data on how Black America has fared since being with the Democratic Party for the last 6 decades? Can't we have that kind of analysis? Can't we have that kind of, investigation? Don't you think it's, how have Black Americans fared since being with the Democratic Party for 6 decades? And, and this is another thing that I always say. If you lack self-awareness, you cannot properly analyze others. You must have some degree of self-awareness to analyze others. And Democrats, every time I talk to liberals, all they do is name call. When you listen to the Washington Journal and they call in, all they do is talk about how Trump is a hater, is a racist, is a bigot, is a criminal. Where, this is their assessment. And, this is their opinion. They think it's fact when you call someone a racist. People think that's fact. When you call someone a bigot, liberals think that's a fact, not an opinion. So they can't even distinguish an opinion from a fact. They can't even distinguish someone in the country legally, which is an immigrant, from someone in the country illegally, which is not an immigrant. They can't even make that simple distinction. So, we're just, I don't know what's going to happen. But this day will go down. And, what are the Democrats going to do? What's going to happen on Monday? What do we anticipate on Monday? It's just going to go on and on and on and on and on. In fact, I want to play an excerpt from Mark Levin. Jeff, could you play that excerpt for my Truth Warriors, please? Yeah.
Have here is Mediagate. Now, what do I mean by that? We have had thousands and thousands of stories on cable TV, on network TV, in the New York Times, Washington Post, exclusives, anonymous government officials, former government officials, lying to us about conspiracies, coming indictments, lying to us about obstruction and meetings that took place, just fed stuff by the federal government, by the Obama administration previously, fed stuff by the bureaucracy, fed stuff by the Hillary Clinton campaign, like the dossier. We had an iron triangle here: the Hillary campaign that funded the dossier, the Obama administration, the Department of Justice, FBI, and the intelligence agencies, and the media. And the media, which is supposed to watch the powerful, the media, which is supposed to watch the government, threw in with this government in order to take out Donald Trump.
Well, that was Mark Levin. I have another audio I want to play. So basically, the media was in cahoots with Democrats. The media pushes liberal agenda. And I've said this on the show before. Liberal ideology for 6 decades has destroyed Black America. We can prove it, right? We can prove it because we know LBJ spoke in front of the Howard commencement. We had 66% two-parent families in 1965. We now have 27% two-parent families. When you destroy the family, you destroy the community. Our families are destroyed. When you destroy the family, that when there are no fathers in the family to raise these boys into men, you are destroying the family. That's what that's what liberal ideology, that's what free sex feminism, that's what the sexual revolution did to Black families. And it's doing it to white families too. Because now I think it's something like 50% of white families or 51% of white families only have one parent. Do you see? Liberal ideology is a cancer on America. And the media along with Hollywood, pushes liberal ideology. This is a victory for Trump supporters. This is a victory for Trump. I can't imagine Democrats winning. Well, we know Democrats will not win in 2020. There's no way they will win after what has been come out. I don't know how the media is going to spin it, but they're going to spin it. I don't know how Democrats are going to spin it, but they're going to spin it. They're going to spend more time, more energy, more money, more resources, more time on talking about, well, we need to see the full report. Barr said he'll give them the full report. He has to follow guidelines, though. He has to do procedural stuff. He's going to get it out. In fact, he says in his letter, his four-page summary, he's going to get out the full report, less the areas that are not kosher to put out. He's going to get those out as expeditiously as possible. So everyone will have their full report. But we know already that, we've got Democrats figured out. When I look at the data on illegal aliens, when I find out that high immigration has destroyed Black America back in the 1800s, when I find out that there are 12 million illegal aliens, at least in United States, and they're pushing out jobs out of Black communities. When I find out in Los Angeles that 1.3 million illegal aliens are in Los Angeles, when I find out 80% of the construction and trade jobs in Los Angeles are held by illegal aliens, Black folks have been destroyed. And Democrats are pushing for illegal aliens to come more and more into the city. Why? Because they need their votes. So this is like a day of reckoning, not only for the Southern Poverty Law Center, but it's a day of reckoning for the Democratic Party. And it's a day of reckoning for Black America, because Black Americans who haven't awakened yet to this fiasco, this sham, this con called the Democratic Party, need to wake up. So if you have any Black folks in your family that are still rolling with these Democrats, you need to show them the light. You need to show them the light. Come to the light. The light is the truth. Come to the truth. You're not self-aware if you don't know you're not self-aware if you don't know you need a daddy in the home. That's not self-awareness. Okay? Anyway, Jeff, can you play the second audio from, before I play it, this is, first, it's a montage of McCabe and Brennan and Clapper. And then it's not that part. You didn't get that part? Oh, he cut out that part. Well, I wanted to hear that part. That's okay. That's okay. Anyway, we're not going to hear the part where McCabe and Clapper and Brennan. We know those guys. Now, these are the intelligence agency. These guys are with the intelligence agencies, right? And remember at the beginning, they said something like 13 or 14 or 15 intelligence agencies said that, what did they say? They said that the dossier was legitimate and Trump would the Trump campaign definitively interfered with, colluded with Russia. And Adam Schiff, it's definitive. We have evidence. We know with 100% certainty that Trump colluded with the Russians. You're an idiot if you don't believe it. Nadler said, oh my God, we know for sure. I mean, I don't understand how these people have any legitimacy to continue. How do they look themselves in the mirror? Anyway, Jeff, can we play the audio? Oh, not yet. Anyway, he's trying to get it. Can you get it before we go to break? Yeah. He's trying to get
tried to create a narrative that set this up, suggesting the president was a criminal. Listen to this, and then we'll let you react.
Yeah, there's a montage.
Do you still believe the president could be a Russian asset?
I think it's possible. I think that's why we started our investigation.
That's McCabe.
And I'm really anxious to see where Director Mueller concludes that.
More and more, I come to a conclusion that after
that's Clapper.
The Helsinki performance and since, that I really do wonder whether the Russians have something on him.
I use the term that this is nothing short of treasonous because it is a betrayal of the nation. He is giving aid and comfort to the enemy.
What should happen to McCabe, Clapper, and Brennan?
Yeah.
First of all, these men are very un-American.
This is Mark
What
Levine.
they've said is outrageous. They should know better. You had the former head of national intelligence under Obama, the former head of the CIA under Obama, a top FBI official under Obama. These three men should be dragged in front of a federal grand jury. They should be testifying about everything they did and everything they knew, because they, particularly McCabe, was involved in a coup effort. They were involved in trying to stop Trump during his campaign, as we pointed out 2 years ago. And now they since have been trying to take this president out. And I don't know what's in this report, and I don't much give a damn what's in this report. The fact of the matter is, they did not indict anybody for collusion. You want to know why? There's 2 reasons. There's no such crime as collusion. And number 2, whatever it is, nobody did it. Now, not a single person prosecuted for collusion. If anyone's going to be prosecuted for collusion, whatever that is, it ought to be the Clinton campaign, the DNC, it ought to be that damn law firm, it ought to be Fusion GPS, and those 3 stooges that you just showed us on TV.
Question.
Let me ask you a question. Did the president withhold a single dollar from this investigation? Did the president stop any aspect of this investigation, which went worldwide and went into everything you can possibly think of? Was the FBI thwarted in any respect? No. The only person who was thwarted was Comey, because he was a bad cop. Firing Comey, absolute constitutional right by the president of the United States. And the president was smart. He said, you know what, Mr. Prosecutor? You don't get to ask me about presidential authority. You know why? Not because the president wanted to protect himself. He had to protect the office of the presidency. It's called separation of powers. You know who's acted most responsibly throughout this whole thing? And yet who's trashed every day? The president of the United States. He didn't take a single governmental action to stop the FBI and the Department of Justice, despite the fact that the FBI and the Department of Justice were out to stop him. Yeah. This is the great scandal in American history, and I mean it. And it's Mediagate, because the media threw in. You couldn't watch CNN, right, MSNBC, read the New York Times, the Washington Post. Quite frankly, thank goodness for Fox, fair and balanced. Let me ask you this question. What do you think the Russians think today?
Yeah.
Mediagate. So this was a witch hunt, right? This was a witch hunt. We're going to take a break. When we come back from the break, I'll take your phone calls. Let me get your take on Mediagate, the media, the witch hunt.
This is a pure and simple witch hunt. Witch hunt.
Witch hunt.
Witch hunt. Witch hunt. Witch hunt. Witch hunt.
Witch hunt.
This is witch hunt.
Witch hunt.
Pure and simple witch hunt.
Reads and smells like a witch hunt.
Why this investigation is nothing more than a witch hunt.
But the entire thing has been a witch hunt.
Pure and simple witch hunt.
Oh, Jeff, can you hear me? So when you come back in with witch hunt. Come back in with that. Okay.
is a pure and simple witch hunt. Witch hunt.
Witch hunt.
Witch hunt. Witch hunt. Witch hunt. Witch hunt.
Witch hunt.
It's witch hunt.
Witch hunt.
Pure and simple witch hunt.
Reads and smells like a witch hunt.
Why this investigation is nothing more than a witch hunt.
But the entire thing has been a witch hunt.
Pure and simple witch hunt.
Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells. Welcome back. We were just talking about what? The witch hunt. Today, March 24th, well, actually Friday, we've been knowing all along, this is an important day for American people and Americans. This is an important day for the American people. This is an important day for the American people. It's a day we should be shouting freedom from the Democratic Party and from the media. Because they've been lying to us. Well, I want folks to go and read. I'm going to talk about it next week, possibly. I had to talk about what's going on with the Mueller report and Barr's summary, because I think that's very, very significant today. It's impactful. It's important. But I want folks to go and read The Reckoning of Morris Dees and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Google that. That's in the New Yorker. They said the Southern Poverty Law Center has $5 billion. No, $500 million rather. $500 million. Most of that, or some of that, over in overseas accounts in the Bahamas and Cayman Islands. This is important. And I was reading it. It's like the Southern Poverty Law Center building looks like, it's this glass structure. And someone said it looks like the Pentagon. This is like the Southern Poverty Law Center. And it was started by one of the co-founders, Morris Dees, and the other co-founder was Julian Bond. Julian Bond, the civil rights activist who marched with Martin Luther King. And they're called the Southern Poverty. They have that name poverty in their title. Yet there's more poverty today than back in the 60s, I think. Hey. I think LBJ spent $3 trillion. Someone told me that figure's not right, but I think Izola Foster said that figure. I don't know. I haven't checked it, but we know at least they spent $3.2 trillion on trying. Oh, I got to sneeze. Sorry. They spent $3.2 trillion on trying to solve poverty, and we have more poverty today than ever before. I mean, the wealth gap, the racial inequality wealth gap is greater than before. Why? Because we're importing, we're bringing in all these poor folks with less than an eighth grade education. This has been going on. Hey, right after the, LBJ Great Society in the 60s, then we had the Immigration Act of 1965. So, this is why Democrats solve nothing. They achieve nothing. How do they have the nerve? How do they have the audacity to even talk with any kind of legitimacy or credibility whatsoever? They've done nothing. They just keep shifting the goalposts from one group to the next. Everyone's a victim. They blew it. Okay. They blew it. And I hope a lot of people start to wake up after this Mueller report, this conclusion that found there is no Russian collusion. I mean, I'll tell you, for 22 months, people literally believed that Trump was working with the Russians. Not only did Trump not work with the Russians, but when his campaign was sort of approached by Russian agents to do something, to get involved or to learn something, they declined. They affirmatively decline. So, if you can't figure you out, if you don't know who you are, if you have no self-awareness, how are you going to figure out other folks? How are you going to know what other people are about? If you don't know who you are, if you don't know what motivates you and what gets you going and what gets you ticking and everything, how can you analyze someone else? If Black folks don't know that their communities have been destroyed, how do you have any awareness of anything? Because most Black folks don't even realize they're poor or a paycheck away. They don't even think it. They don't even believe it. They think they're rolling, They don't even know what money is. They don't know, they can't, Black folks today can't buy homes in the neighborhood I grew up in, Lamert Park. Those homes start at $150,000. Black folks can't buy homes, and if it's renovated, it's $1 million. Black folk, most black, you have a few here and there. Most Black folks can't afford $1 million home. Yeah, we've been in this country 460 years. We've been voting Democrat for 6 decades. And these homes are considered middle class in Los Angeles. This is where working class folks live in Leimert Park. They buy $1 million home. Most Black folks can't buy $1 million home. Anyway, I see I have a caller from Mike in El Segundo. Hi, Mike. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. You're a regular caller. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for your excellent show. I appreciate it. Anytime the Democrats or their comrades and allies in the mainstream media are accusing the Republicans of something, it's almost always the case that the accusations are false, that they are accusing the Republicans of what the Democrats have been doing and in many cases are still currently doing. And that's the case with these false charges of collusion and false charges of obstruction of justice. And we know from the WikiLeaks email archives that were posted on the internet on the WikiLeaks website where somebody had hacked into the DNC emails and also the John Podesta emails. And he, of course, was Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman. We know that the Democrats and the Hillary campaign were deeply in collusion with the mainstream media, where they were orchestrating the mainstream media and using them as a campaign propaganda organ against Trump and the Republicans. So now we have the news media claiming they're real news and people who are exposing them as the fraud that they are, being the fake news.
Well, you know, that's psychology 101 is called projection.
Right. There's more than that. It's a strategy, because I found in one of the WikiLeaks emails that there was a Microsoft Word file attached which laid out the Democrat strategy. And part of that strategy was to falsely accuse the Republicans of the scandals and the illegal and immoral activities that Democrats were doing, so that then when the Republicans would find out the Democrats are doing it and try to bring it to light, then they would say, oh, they're just saying it because we already accused them of that. And they would also, this is what's said in that actual attachment, was to muddy the waters. So you say, well, everyone's doing it. And part of their strategy, by the way, was to help Donald Trump get elected in the primary election, because they thought he was one of the weakest candidates who they could beat in the general election. Boy, were they wrong, right? So, but they also had done that in the past with John McCain.
Right.
So the Democrats and news media built John McCain up and helped him win the Republican primary election, only to knock him down in the general election. Now, regarding the obstruction of justice, some of the real obstruction of justice was when James Comey and the people of the Department of Justice and the FBI, as well as James Comey, FBI director, had blocked the prosecution of Hillary, as she should have been prosecuted for violating the Espionage Act with her illegal, unsecured, and unauthorized email server in her home that she was using to receive and send classified data. Totally illegal. I have, for a long time, worked in the defense industry with security clearances. If I had done that, or anyone I know with a security clearance had done that, we would have immediately lost our clearance. We would have lost our job. We'd be prosecuted. We'd be sitting in prison. And they explicitly protected Hillary. And James Comey lied, and that's why Trump was right to fire him. James Comey claimed that there was not sufficient evidence of criminal intent on the part of Hillary Clinton. However, the code section she violated in the law only requires gross negligence, not criminal intent. And anyone can look that up. That's Title 10, Section, 793, F as in Frank. So, Title 10 of the United States Code, Section 793, left parentheses, F, right parentheses.
Okay, Mike, thanks for calling.
The point is that the evidence is right there in the open. The news media cannot claim they did not know.
Right. Well, you know, all us Trump supporters, we do our research. And we know all this. We do our research. And in fact, you know, I've mentioned to people before that, you know, Dan Bongino is excellent. If you haven't checked out Dan Bongino, you're missing it, because he goes over all the details. He used to be.
I only hear when he substitutes for another host. What's his regular station or time? How does someone regularly hear him?
Oh, you know, you just Google Dan Bongino. He does a podcast every day.
Okay, I will look for that. Let me tell you something. We've got so many wonderful, great conservatives. We've got Mark Levin. We've got, obviously, Dennis Prager. We've got yourself. We've got a whole bunch.
Yes, we have me.
We've got the facts on our side.
We've got the facts.
The right to history. We're on the morally correct side. And you look at the Democrat Party and the effectiveness of the mainstream media and the fake education system is so effective. They've got 90 to 95% of our fellow Americans with African, ancestry voting for the party of slavery, the party that created the Ku Klux Klan as a terror wing of this party, the party that has been using gun control laws to disarm law-abiding Black Americans selectively, as they've been doing since their Jim Crow laws, which included gun control laws, and they're doing it to this day. They've ruined the schools, and that's the greatest way for upward mobility from generation to generation is to have good quality education. The Democrats have catered to the teachers' unions and ruined the schools, and they've ruined so much. They're making it so hard for new people start new businesses, small businesses with all the regulations and taxes. And for people who want to elevate themselves and go from middle class to upper class or lower class to middle class, being able to start a business without government oppression against you and governments working against you is the main way for upward mobility. And the Democrats are destroying that. They have.
Okay, Mike, I agree with you 100%. The most important thing for Black folks to get ahead is to have a daddy in the home. That's the most important thing, because you're teaching boys to be men, to be fathers, to be responsible, to be accountable. It's not necessary to have a college education, but having, tradesmen, carpenters, welders, they make good money. They can raise a family. Anyway, so we know, basically, I agree with everything that Mike was saying. That's Mike from El Segundo. He's a regular caller on the show. He knows I agree. We all understand. We all know what's going on. Oh, you can go to the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. This is housekeeping, and it's kind of late because we're getting ready to go off in a bit, right, Jeff? We're going off soon. But Yeah, 10 minutes or so, but you can go to the Naked Truth. This is my housekeeping business that I forget to do all the time. Please go to the Naked Truth Report YouTube channel and like and share the video, because I want to get the numbers up, because, I got to get on the national stage and talk about how Black Americans need to put a constructive trust on the Southern Poverty Law Center. We need to disgorge their profits. Black America needs to disgorge the profits or place a constructive trust on the Southern Poverty Law Center for Black America. That's $500 million right there. Okay. We can do a lot with that money, right? Anyway, so please go to the Naked Truth Report YouTube channel and share and like and subscribe to the station. I want to get those numbers up. I really appreciate it. And also go to my Twitter account as well as Kathleen. Also join that. So now let's take a call from Ron in Pasadena. Hi, Ron. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Thank you. I just want to share something that I read on Twitter today about the Mueller report, where a guy made, I think, an outstanding point, where he said that the report came out, and basically you still have the division where Trump supporters and rational people, as far as I'm concerned, were happy about it, but Democrats were still upset. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, if you think about that, that's odd, because every American should be happy that this report came out the way it did, because it exonerated the president. It said our system was clean. It was a good, clean election, and the best candidate won. But that the Democrats, still upset about this, are showing that they hate Donald Trump more than they love their own country.
Exactly. In fact, Rachel Maddow was, I didn't see it, but I heard that she was actually, shedding tears that Trump did not commit collusion with Russia. Can you imagine? We're all Americans.
I think on Twitter, a lot of pictures of her shedding tears. I didn't turn on the sound to hear what she had to say, but there was a lot of pictures of her crying. Yes.
Right. Well, isn't that disappointing?
Yes, it is. It's, like I said, it's stunning that you would figure everybody be relieved. Okay, hey, yes, okay, Hillary didn't win, but at least, it was a clean election. Everything went the way it was supposed to work.
Right. Because we're all Americans. We're all Americans. We're all in it to win it. I can't go to another country and claim citizenship.
Right.
Yeah.
So true. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ron. So that's that. So let's see. What else do I want to do? I think I got 10 more minutes, Jeff? Okay, I have 8 more minutes. What should I talk about? I want to talk about the fact that, what did I see on TV? Oh, the Democrats now want to, Dianne Feinstein said that she wants to they're all saying they want the full report. Bernie Sanders, I think it was in He did it. Yeah. Was it today or yesterday? Bernie Sanders was I think yesterday he was at downtown Los Angeles in front of City Hall doing a rally. Bernie Sanders, they all say they want to see the full report. Kamala Harris is demanding the full report. Well, they're going to get it. And they want to actually subpoena, because Barr said he's willing to give them the full report. And as soon as possible, he's going to be expeditious about it. I think that was the word that he used. And that, but there's certain requirements that he has to go through, because you can't give out all this, basically this is what's going on, folks. The Democrats just want to smear Trump. They want to drag, they want information to drag him through the mud for the 2020. That's all they want. They just want something to talk about him like a dog and his family. And they're assuming there'll be stuff in this report that Mueller has taken 22 months with to dirt on Trump, some kind of dirt. But the thing of it is, this is what Barr said, and this is what people who are in charge of these types, prosecutors who are in charge of these types of special investigations, we don't just disclose information about people who are under investigation just to besmirch them, just to make them look bad, just to ruin their reputation. There's nothing that he can be indicted on. This, Mueller said there's no further indictments. There's no criminal prosecution on the horizon, despite what they're saying, what's going on in the Southern District of New York. I don't think anything will come of that. And I'm certain Trump isn't worried about it. So, because if there was anything of significance to get Trump and his children on, remember we were told emphatically, consistently, that Don Jr. was going to be indicted, that Ivanka was going to be indicted. Remember? These folks were emphatic. I love to go on YouTube because there's so much information and so many people are so creative. So, people on YouTube are going to be making up a montage that is going to be so hilarious. I'm sure I'll play some of them. I may play some of them on the show, but they're going to be making up a montage. Just like, remember when they did the montage of how the mainstream media, MSNBC and CNN, how they were devastated when on election day, when we heard that Trump won. That is like that's like the funniest thing where, everyone was so in shock. And what was it that Van Jones said? White supremacy. This has been a white rage or something. Some white supremacy has won the day or something like that. And we had Professor Wilford Riley on the show last week. I think he was on last week. And, there's been a decrease in white supremacy. In fact, most of these racial crimes or things that are taking place are hoaxes. These incidents, they're hoaxes. There's been a rise in racial hoaxes, like Jesse Smollett. There's been a rise of these kind of things, real fake stuff. Everything's fake. People are just trying to get their agenda. They're just trying to get over on an environment or on an atmosphere that is being stirred by the media. It's not reality. Just like we've talked about before, how many unarmed black men were actually shot, unarmed black men shot by cops in last year and the year before. I think it was, a handful, 16. We're over 300 million Black Americans, and the national interest for Black America is what has happened to 16 Black men. We're over 30 million, over 35 million Black Americans, close to 40 million, about 35 million Native Black Americans. And we're concerned about what happened to 16 folks. What we're supposed to be, that's not our national interest. What we are supposed to be concerned about is what is happening to millions of Black men. We want millions of Black men to have real wealth. We want millions of Black men to be middle class and be able to buy $1 million home in middle class Lamert Park. We don't care about what happens to 16. That's not our national interest. We want millions of Black men to be able to buy $1 million home in working class Leimert Park in Los Angeles. We want millions of Black men to have real money in their pocket. We want millions of Black men to be able to be fathers, right? And you remember the other case about the 2 Black guys that went into Starbucks? Oh, you see, that's the media. The media told us the national interest for Black America is what happens to 2 Black men. Doesn't that make you sound like, doesn't that make you sort of feel like impotent? When you got 40% of the homeless in Los Angeles are Black men. 40% of the homeless in Los Angeles are Black men. But we're concerned about 2 Black men who went into Starbucks. That's our national interest. But let me tell you something. A lot of folks on social media, or a lot of people on, Facebook or wherever, on YouTube, when I talk to them about that, they can't connect that. They think what happens to 16 Black men is the national interest for 35 million Black folks. They think what happens to 2 Black men in Starbucks is the national interest for 35 million Black folks. Is that like cognitive dissonance or whatever? Or that's just illogical? Because you're supposed to be concerned with what happens to the larger number of people. You're not supposed to be concerned. I mean, it's not like, your day is like been out of shape because of what happened to 2 people. You want to take the totality. You want what's happening to the larger number. In other words, what is more important? What has happened to 1 person or what has happened to 100 people? What's more important? What do you give more weight to? What do you give more weight to? 100 people or 1 person? I mean, it's just that simple. And that's just something that you learn in logic class. And so you can get books in logic. You can go to the library. In fact, they even have on YouTube, you can Google how to learn logic. So you can learn logic. You can exercise that muscle. You can take exercises in logic. Do you understand? This is important. Next week, I think I'm going to talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center again, because this is important. And also, I want to talk about what's going, that fraud, that con, Elizabeth Holmes, Theranos. Are you familiar with that? She had the company in Silicon Valley. Anyway, I'll be back next week. This is the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells. And don't forget to subscribe and share the YouTube channel, The Naked Truth Report. And I'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
This is a pure and simple witch hunt. 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 This witch hunt. Witch hunt. Pure and simple witch hunt.
Reads and smells like a witch hunt.
Why this investigation is nothing more than a witch hunt.
But the entire thing has been a witch hunt.
Pure and simple witch hunt.